Welcome to this month's Opening the Box. We will be talking about the MidCoast Fine Arts Collection. My name is Catherine Kuntz. I am the Richardson-Sloane Special Collection Supervisor. I am thrilled that we're here this month, and we have almost been doing this program a full year. So thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll continue providing this great program for everyone to learn more about our archive and manuscript collections. So this program is probably going to continue being on Friday, the first Friday of every month at 2:30, and probably still be virtual. And if you can't attend, we'll try and record it and put it on our YouTube channel. But we try and focus with this program on the wonderful world of our archives and manuscripts. So we try to focus on a different topic every month relating to the use or study of these types of materials. And so this month we're going to be looking at something a little bit specific, more than what we've done in the past, where we've done some overviews or specific guides to help use our archives and manuscript collections. This is going to be pretty much on just one archival collection and just kind of going through what it has in store for us, and what we can learn from it. So the topics we'll cover in this session, we will cover kind of a very brief overview of what a nonprofit art organization collection is and what can be found in these types of collections. We'll go through the actual MidCoast Fine Arts Collection. It's a collection of 5 boxes, and then some local publications like newspapers and things like that. And then just a really brief overview of our archive and manuscript catalog to let you know that this is how you can access these types of materials and learn more about them. If you find something online, then you can come in and ask and see if asked to use the collections. So we'll start there. So we're all really familiar with nonprofit organizations, but specifically art organizations are pretty much similar to all other nonprofits, where they are trying to fundraise and support some aspect within our community, and theirs is art and art education and promoting the artist and supporting their work. So the types of materials that you can find in these types of collections are some of the organizational information. So kind of the more legal type documents like bylaws and articles of incorporation. They might even have information on their 501c3 status, corporation minutes, if they're associated with a corporation, or get funding from them, that type of thing. And they might have multiple iterations of these types of documents too, depending on the longevity of the organization. So they might have their initial articles of incorporation and bylaws from, say, 1901, and then they review them 60 years later in the 1960s, those types of things. So those are all really good to see how and if the organization has changed over those years. Then we also get the very informative types of materials, such as board and committee uh, meeting minutes. And so those are kind of the heart of those collections. So they have a lot of information on the decision making, the activities, the reporting of the group, the activities that they take part in, and how they go about it. And then this also turns into the financial documentation. So those board and committee minutes also may talk about the treasurer's reports, financials, grants, applications, and use of that, expending those funds, things like that. The things that they buy to support the artists do events in the community. So if they participate in outreach events, such as big uh, art festivals and things like that, or juried art competitions, things like of that nature. Then we also have publications and publicity. So some organizations may have a newsletter or a informational program that goes out set number of times in the year. Some don't, but most do in some regard, just because they want people to know what they're doing and to join and be excited about what they're supporting in the community. Publicity ranges from press releases to posters, from postcards that are being mailed out or given to local businesses or chamber of commerces. Um, just a whole bunch of different stuff. Um, then we also have information on the events or activities. So these are kind of the main things that these organizations do. So trying to get the word out about whatever their cause is, to support it, get people intrigued and energized about them. We also have um, photographs, correspondence. Sometimes, if the organization has a historian or someone interested with documenting the group's activity, they might have scrapbooks, and then also much more. So there's anything that you could probably conceivably think about. There might be something in those collections. And for art organizations, it might be actual art. It might be diagrams or renderings of specific locations to kind of draft where the art will hang up, those types of things. Going back briefly to the events and activities, these have the whole history of the events too. So from like the beginning, the first planning sometimes, to the last time that was ever the event or activity was ever held. So it's kind of nice to see a collection that has all that. And we'll see with MidCoast Fine Arts that they do have some of that, but not all of that type of information. But in case you're curious and you want to know if we had any other nonprofit art organization collections in our center, we do. So we do have the Beaux Arts Incorporated. That is 2004-71. So that is a collection about the Beaux Arts organization. They also have another collection in our center, which is 2021-05. That is the Beaux Arts Fund Committee Records. And then we also have some art-related organizations that are tied to our Davenport Museum of Art. So we have the Friends and then the Volunteer Guild. So even though that in the past the Davenport Museum of Art is funded and supported by the city of Davenport, they, like the library, for an example, they also have friends groups, which are the nonprofit organizations that help support their mission and goals and get people interested. So we'll kind of go into the MidCoast Fine Arts Collection. It was really fun to go through this collection. It was very visual. They have a lot of photographs and posters and postcards about what the activities that they've done. And so just a brief overview of what we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about the history of the organization. We're going to explore what is in the collection. So we'll kind of go through systematically the boxes and see what we can find. So that includes event documentation, publications, artist spotlights, places that they purchased or leased or tried to become a part of, like Bucktown. So just as another aside is that if you are interested in researching this collection, this is not the only place where you can look for information on this organization. We have newspapers, microfilm, and so you can look at articles that were published about the MidCoast Fine Arts and all their associated activities. And then we also have other collections that have things about the MidCoast Fine Arts, such as our library catalog. We do have a run of their publication, The New Visions, and then also our ephemera, which we have a couple brochures and other type of materials that you'll later see in as we talk. That is in that collection as well. So those were materials that we got previously, because we actually received this collection in 2020. So, and I'll tell you why. So we'll go on to its history. So, MidCoast Fine Arts was not always known as MidCoast Fine Arts. So they actually had included a really nice summary of their history in the collection. So just kind of starting with their main mission, they are dedicated to the arts and artists of the Quad City region through programs of presentation, education, and celebration. It serves the artists and citizen of the core and extended Quad City region. So their mission was to support the arts. And so that's what they did during their existence. So it was initially formed by 3 artists and a legal representative determined to change based on the perception and recognition of the visual arts in the region. They founded this cultural enhancement organization that was incorporated in the fall of 1994. The CEO, the Cultural Enhancement Organization, their mission was unique in the marketplace because it recognized those that create as a first priority and establish a no commission policy as an organization. It partnered with civic, tourism, and other agencies to expand the visual arts presence by targeting where the audience is and bringing it to them. And then the third point was that this in turn would create an arts profile, the scale of which would benefit the growth and vitality of the entire community. So this was something that they've really showcased throughout their history. We'll touch on some of the events that they were a part of, such as Riversance, the artworks, art walk, and things like that. So they, prior to the organization's recognition as a not-for-profit, the founding members had created 3 presentations: the Artworks Window Walk, a rotating art in the windows exhibit established in 1991 in Rock Island, as formulating its art and entertainment district, so the district as we know it today. And then they also had a great mask auction, a Halloween event established in 1994 to support regional artists in the promotion and sale of mask-themed creations. And then number 3 was the Pastel Exhibition competition, a sidewalk chalk presentation established in the spring of 1995 that encouraged the development of our area's high school talent while contributing to their artistic advancement. So as they grew those programs, the organization grew and they developed a 4-person board of directors and then an executive committee that was formed in 1996 actually. The approximate number of members for their executive committee was 15, and they were chosen or brought, and they They were chosen because they brought specific talents and abilities that would be needed in the upcoming period for rapid growth. So they really tried to grow and become an established organization in the community. So later on in 1996, in April, the MidCoast Fine Arts Gallery opened at the Mississippi Valley Welcome Center in LeClaire, so the visitor center right off of I-80. It had approximately about 800 square feet for presentation that featured paired artists with bi-monthly rotating exhibitions and receptions. This was one of the most visited welcome centers in the United States just because of all the traffic on I-80. The organization actually filed for a name change from the Cultural Enhancement Organization. So if you didn't know that they had that name, don't feel bad, because they changed it pretty early on in 1996 to the MidCoast Fine Arts. So that really helped boost their profile, probably because the other name wasn't as identifiable. And that also initiated a new community connection. So they also pursued interests in art under glass. This was a program that was unveiled in July 1996 in downtown Davenport this time. So some of these other art events were happening in Rock Island. This presentation comprised of approximately 13 separate rotating exhibits. It was fashioned from the Artworks Window Walk program in Illinois, both utilizing the visual arts as an inventive form of urban renewal. So you'll kind of see what the art window walk really did for downtown Rock Island. So they really tried to boost that. So in less than 2.5 years of receiving its not-for-profit recognition, MidCoast Fine Arts has provided over 200 separate exhibitions to regional artists, reached an estimated annual viewing audience of 1 million, and became the largest presenters of visual arts in the region. So they really became a force for good in the arts community. They made as much impact as they could. So they did do a little bit of a structural update in 1998. So they continued with adding 2 more tiers to the organizational structure. So they added an advisory board and then an ad hoc committee. So the advisory board connected organizations more closely with the community. The advisory board delivers common sense left and right brain thinking to primarily right brain decision making organizations. So they really try to get that information out to the folks that might not understand its importance. And then the ad hoc committee supported value time and experience to day-to-day organizational event and programming efforts. So essentially a team that would help support that. And then they also made programming a big part of their organization. So they had the MidCoast Fine Arts Center Station Gallery at the John Deere Commons in Moline. This allowed them to present art in that type of fashion. They had bi-state presentations that opened in May 1998. The MidCoast at the River Center in downtown Davenport, so they have rotating exhibits over there as well, and that opened. This actually featured rotating exhibits in the gallery corridor between the River Center and the Adler Theater that opened in 1998 in July. So if you guys have been over there, you can see that the artwork that's in the display cases over there. There's a art at the Mark, so they were trying to get art at the MARC, or now the tax layer, and bring and connect art there. They also were awarded Tourism and Arts Award by the Iowa Tourism Department. And then they also have a display window presence at the Quad City Airport. And so I believe they expanded that a little bit and have a really nice art exhibit over there. They also added new events. So they added the 1998 Gallery Hop. This was a monthly event that promoted local galleries and artists in the Rock Island Arts and Entertainment District. They also did things with the community and partnered with different organizations. That way they tried to become more invested in the media and promoting their work. They also had 2 new vehicles for promotion of all their efforts: the New Visions, a visual arts quarterly featuring MidCoast programming and events. This started in 1998, and we'll talk more about that because we have some examples of those. And then also PSA public service announcements, so for the local areas. So just a fun fact, at the end of this little update, the MidCoast Fine Arts, in less than 3 years of receiving its not-for-profit status, they had grown to a rotating 5 rotating visual arts presentations in 4 cities, 2 states, and orchestrates 6 annual events. So they were quite busy. The estimated viewing audience had reached 1.5 million, and its visual arts quarterly New Visions reached an estimated annual readership of 160,000. So they were quite impressive, and they did a lot of great work promoting the arts in this area. And so they do have information on the organizational structure. They have a nice organizational chart, so you can see how they kind of were organized. We have copies of one set of bylaws and articles of incorporation with the nonprofit status. So they kind of started in 1996, well, earlier than that a little bit, in like 1994. But sadly, the MidCoast Fine Arts actually came to a close just this last year. I believe their last meeting was March of 2020. So one of the reasons why they chose to, or made them consider more of shutting down, was because of the 2019 flood of the Mississippi River that really impacted a lot of organizations, especially on 2nd Street where Bucktown was located. So we'll talk about some fun events that we've kind of heard about in the previous little spiel. So we have the artworks window walks, and so these are just some documents from there. One of their arts coordinators drew these up, and it's really fun. So this program was established in 1981, as we learned from the history. It is a community-sponsored program helping to initiate downtown Rock Island's emerging art and entertainment district. The mission of this event is to aid in the recognition of our regional art talent by establishing a community for its presentation. The displays were featured in the plaza of the Rock Island Arts and Entertainment District. They were displayed in actively occupied businesses who realized the importance of this cultural component. So they actually took their materials away, their merchandise and their displays from their window to let artists show theirs. It was primarily funded by the district, or the Arts and Entertainment District, and a grant from the Riverssance Festival of Fine Arts. So the artist could submit all media 2- and 3-dimensional art. Existing or site-specific art were also eligible for display. Artists could from 150-mile radius of the Quad Cities could submit their art. Artist slides must reflect the same work presented for the display. The artists must provide their own backdrop for these displays. So only a limited number of artists could be selected because of the space constraints. The art would be displayed for up to 90 days, and with one scheduled rotation to move another window of frontage to showcase another artist. And this would be done by an artist and also a program representative. So over 100 works of art were actually donated for this event, and the art came from about 20 individual area artists or art organizations, which that was really great. Artists donated their labor and materials for the display. Downtown 2000, a program that the Rock Island city kind of developed. They prioritized the arts as a key component in the redevelopment of Rock Island, and this program is a successful example of that cooperation. But as I was looking at the initial types of documentation for this event, I found some stuff that contradicted those rules. So one such contradiction was the 150-mile radius from Davenport. Actually, in the other documentation, it said 100. And then also, there were some more restrictions or requirements asked of the artists and their art. So there was a requirement to have the piece of art pass a jurying process at least twice in the last year at competitions. So they had a little bit more stringent rules. So it'd be interesting to see what actually happened. One really beneficial thing to artists was that any sales initiated by the display go directly to the artist. So and galleries were not able to participate. So if you owned your own art gallery, you couldn't participate. But if you're an individual artist or a nonprofit organization for art creation, you could participate, and you didn't have to pay any commission or do anything like that. So you got the money, all the money to support your work. And then in 1996, the program served over 200 area artists with commission-free exhibits, brought to the visual arts an estimated 1 million viewers, and then also built a really great cooperation with businesses, civics, and art communities. So this event was really fun. So this is kind of just the preparing for the event and telling people what it's all about. You can see some of the artists that were selected. Diorama of the downtown Rock Island arts and where the art would go. And then this is a letter from the city of Rock Island saying that they appreciated the work and the efforts of the Artworks window walk. So it was really nice support of that. But as the history alluded to, they also did not just regular art that was very creative, but they also did Halloween themed. So this project actually started in 1993. It had a pilot year that was called 9 Nights of the Living Dead, and it was in the district, and it was one of the most successful events of the year. and it also included a laser show. And so it was so popular, they brought it back the next year. You can see this kind of informational um, document saying what specific rules they had for creating a window for the Halloween themed artworks and window walks. I really love this this image. It's quite spooky, and there's flying things, there's lights, there's spider webs. It's quite fun. But there's more to the spookiness. So the first annual Halloween exhibition of site-specific art presented in the former Walgreens building, actually, in the district. So in that is now known as the district's Renaissance Marketplace, which I don't know if it's still called that. But they kind of boosted this. They made it more of an event. So from the pilot year, they grew and expanded arts. The artists get lighting and a backdrop for these displays, and they would need to tally all the costs of their materials for the exhibit and tell the organization so that it could be covered by insurance. The works had to be installed by at the beginning of October, and then the next week, jurors critiqued the works during the evening hours, and then they based their decisions on originality, creativity, artistic execution, and site and theme specific nature of the work. So they kind of took all those things into looked and viewed the lovely artwork. A reception was also held the first around Halloween, so that first Friday was one of the times that they did that. And then all participating artists were requested to be present. They also had to remove their artwork by November 1st, so they had a specific time frame when they had to go pick their work up. But it's really fun. We have a number of different photographs of all the different spooky windows that they created. Then moving on to some other fun programs. So the Great Mask event, and that was originally started in 1993 or 1994. So they had these at a number of different locations. So I think later on they did move it to the Villa, and that was a really fun, big Halloween bash too. So they had the Great Mask auction and then also the Halloween bash at the same time. So they actually they had they had it. It was approximately 125 people, which doubled their first event. So they really had a great time. And this is actually an invitation to the Halloween bash and the Great Mask auction. Um, And then these are just some informational documents. So this one is congratulations to the artist that was selected to participate in having their mask or their art featured at, and then also a little advertisement, so a PR request for the media to share the information about their event in 2000. Um, and then we also have some really fun photographs. So this gentleman, assume that he's an artist or a music event. So he's standing in front of some lovely spooky masks. And then we have this fish-looking gentleman. Um, he would be very scary if you saw him. then also some musicians performing at the event. Then we have, we're moving on to the Pastel Exhibition competition. So this was started in 1995. This project actually took place right off of the Great River Plaza in an area called Arts Alley in Rock Island. It was a sponsored event. Um, they had guided and juried. It's guided and juried events by local artists Ellen Wagner and Bruce Carter. And they invited a number of area high schools to create colorful artworks in competition to enhance their school's budget for art supplies. Um, so one of the years, actually, the rain ruined the art. I believe this was in 1995, but the students did not give up and they persevered, and they actually came away with a few winners. So the first place winner was West High School, second place was United Township High School, and then third place was actually tied between Bettendorf High School and Moline. So these photographs are from the 1996 Pastel Exhibition and Competition, so you can see the students working along with, it seems like, a few adults. So you can see the very beautiful chalk artwork that they're creating. And then some other images of the students' works. So there's Bettendorf High School, and then beautiful port. The It looks like maybe Bettendorf as well. Um, a lovely coffee shop scene. Our next big, well-known, popular, and locally renowned event known as Riversance. Um, this, I believe, began in 1987 or 1988, so actually before MidCoast. Um, uh, but it was first written about in the local newspapers in 1998. I could not find anything about the first year, but when it said that it had its 30th anniversary, I did calculations and it was 1987. To learn more about the first Renaissance, even if it wasn't called Renaissance, it'd be interesting to find out. But it is going on actually its 34th year. I don't know if they did it during 2019, and I think it was probably canceled in 2020. But I know that they did it this year, so I'm glad to see them back. We have press releases, postcard reminders and publicity, brochures for artists, calls for entries, and then also maps of the events and posters of the events as well. So these are some artwork at Riversance. There's a call for entry flyer shown here. And then we have some lovely postcards. I like this little Renaissance style juggling. It must be a jester. It's featuring its skills flipping the fish in the air. This was from 2008, and then we have the 10th anniversary back of the card here. So it's pretty fun, and they have the lovely gentleman um, representing the Riversance. Then we also have this, we have a couple different versions of the layout of Riversance in LeClaire Park. Um, and so you can see the massive stage, food tent, food options, and then all the vendors listed. And then you can see all the people, all the back of the map, and all the artists that were selling their wares. So it's a really fun 2-day event in the village of East Davenport. And then we also have some CDs and media photograph slides, such as this one, showcasing images from the event. So we know this artist, actually. This is Lojo Russo. She's one of our QC Beats artists, and she just did a YouTube special collection sessions for us, and it's really fun. But she was doing the Renaissance in this one in 2013. But you can see how big it was. It looks like it's kind of a dry year because the grass is all brown. But then we also have posters here, and they always had a, quite a number of artists represent. So I think the first couple years it was saying that they had 110 artists. This one has 100, and then I think even from they had 90 to 100 people represented. So it's a really great event for the community, and it's supported by a number of organizations in the area. Then we also have I did some cursory digging in our newspaper archive. So these ones that aren't in color are actually from 1988. Apologize for that slip up. And so these were articles about the first Renaissance. And so they had some John Bloom arts on display. And they had other art displays at the museum to support the local artists. So it's a really great collection. And then we also have a front page from section B talking about the Renaissance in its 30th year, and so what it means for all the artists and the art in the area. Then we also have information about the Bash. So this was an annual event that they had to celebrate arts and urban development. So this was initially held in Rock Island. So the one of the first years that it was held at the McKesson building, or the old industrial supply building. And so they had different types of art that was featured there, some more mechanical looking, or glass or metal or wood, opposed to the more common oil and other like types of art. And then later on, Bucktown and had the back was a little printed, the front and back of that, and then also we have then we also have some more examples of postcards or bookmarks that were advertisements. So um, more for the bash. So then it became the annual renovation celebration. So one year was about that, and then we also have the grand opening of Bucktown. So a ticket for that as well. So you can see that this organization really grew and tried to establish itself as the go-to art organization in the Quad Cities. Um, and it's a really fun type of advertisement. So it looks like it was from 2004, probably the bash with the unicyclists. And then we have some more pieces of probably more ephemeral materials. So we have the Bucktown Buck. So $1 off any purchase over $20. So that's just encouraging folks to buy local art. And it's a pretty cute, fun way to do that. Also, then we have a little program for Bucktown's annual birthday bash. So it kind of what was on each of the floors. You could drink wine, buy some lovely art. Then we're just going on to annual reports and publications. So this is just an example of one of their annual reports that they printed up for the community. So it's just telling everyone all the activities that they've planned and contributed to what they contributed to the community. They also thanked all their supporters and their volunteers for all their hard work with making these events such a success. Then we also have meeting minutes and brainstorming documents. So one of the documents that I'm showing is the last board of directors meeting minutes. It looks more like a revised agenda. So kind of talking about their last things that they needed to do before they shut down. And then also the center document is a brainstorming document. So they try to rethink what they were doing each year and see if they wanted to continue it, add something new, change up how they were doing it. So they were trying to be active and agile and flexible in their response to art and supporting it in the community. Then we also have some more meeting and minute notes. So it's just kind of talking about the wind down. They did. It does look that they tried to find another location other than Bucktown in Davenport before they closed fully, but it doesn't look like they found anything. And then we have some more different types of publications. So the New Visions publication. So this was a visual arts quarterly publication showcasing artists' works in presentations and events orchestrated by the MidCoast Fine Arts in the Quad Cities region. It was an 8-page document, 4 in color, newspaper scale periodical that reached around 160 viewers annually. And so you can see how beautiful and colorful it is, very attractive to the eye, trying to get people excited about art. They did have so a couple different guides for the advertisements in the magazine or the quarterly newsletter. And you can see the first edition. So it's quite, they also made a first collector's edition of the New Visions as well. So they really tried to amplify arts in this way. They also had a couple different other versions of a couple more different editions of New Visions. And so it talks about river songs, art partnerships. So I just kind of try to take images of one example. So it has everything that we've kind of talked about. So the center station gallery, the pastel exhibition competition, um, the art under glass, artworks window walk, MidCoast Fine Arts Gallery at the Welcome Center in LeClaire, at the River Center. So they were trying to really promote their artists and where they had the art in the community. And then just some other fun covers for the Arts New Vision. And then as we go from there, we move into sometimes it's somewhat publications, but it's more publicity and more advertisements for their artists. So we have a few folders that have little write-ups on their artists that were featured at the MidCoast Fine Arts location. So one artist was Connie Bieber. So we have a lovely photographic print of her and then a couple different quotes from her and about her art. So this one was the reason why I took so many pictures of Connie was that she did have a good example of a lot more information about her. So they also had a little studio brochure of all the different artworks. So it looks like her art had a lot of nature in it, and as well as farm animals. So she loved sheep. Looks like she took care of some sheep because she has one in her arms in the last picture. And so it's quite cute. I would probably buy some of her art if it was available. And then these were the most typical ones. I'm guessing that these artist profiles were actually showcased by the artist's work in the studios or in whatever exhibition or competition that they were a part of. So these were just a couple examples. So it says what their name is, their mediums, the contact information about them, and then their kind of artist statement. And so it's quite fun. They have images of themselves and then contact information. Then we have postcards for exhibitions. So these are a few different examples. So Steve Sinner actually is a wood carving artist who was actually featured at the Figge Art Museum not too long ago. There's Marty Beckman, and then the artists that were on that we actually get to see their art. Their names are on the back as well. So it's a really fun way to get information out about the artists. Then, so they moved to Bucktown, and they tried to they renovated the building. They really tried to make this a big district of art, just kind of like they did with the Arts and Entertainment District in Rock Island. So they had a number of reports based on the building. They reported their work on the artist's workspace. So in addition to being spots for exhibiting or showing their work to the community, it was also a spot where artists could perform to create their art. So it was a good spot for local artists. They also had promotional materials drafted and distributed to the community, such as the Bucktown Saga. And so this is the history of Bucktown. So Bucktown was known for prostitution and illegal activity during Prohibition and things like that. So they tried to showcase this history and get people interested in the area, come down and see the building, and then also see some artwork. And then there's a couple pictures of the building from the exterior, and then we have some floor plans of the building and how they kind of wanted to set up the interior for the artists and displaying the art. So I just chose the first floor option. Bucktown creative merchandise flyer, and then they also had some other um, wine walks and artists donating 20% of their sales to NAMI. So different types of ways to get people into the Bucktown Center for the Arts and getting them to experience art in those ways. Then we also have a lovely image of them doing their ribbon cutting. And there were two different photographs. I just chose this one. They also signed their names of who was present in the image. So it's a really fun way to celebrate that. And then also we have some miscellaneous materials from the collection. So we have some programs, posters. So we have Venus Envy work all about women and their art from 2008, Inside Out Arts Community event that was a part of the Illinois Arts Leaders and Practitioners and Supporters. So it was a big conference that was held in the Quad Cities. Then we have the Quad City Arts Center holiday sale, so getting people to come in and buy the arts in Rock Island. We have some advertisement for Bucktown. Then we also have some more about the Great Mask and Halloween Bash. And then I love the center one. It's really fun and creative. Um, it's a very effective poster. And then the last one is another different type of advertisement and the featured artists at the live auction. And then as I was telling you guys, we had another example of the Riverssance Festival and Map. So this was a little brochure from that event. And then we also have some fun advertisements that they try to do. The biggest arts party in Bucktown's 100-year history. So they tried to really promote that and get people a part of the art scene. We have them celebrating an event at the Redstone Room for the MidCoast Fine Arts Bash. So they held that at different locations across the Quad Cities. We have some art at the Mark, illustrations on where the art would go, and kind of how it would be displayed. So those are really fun to see what they were thinking with that. There's the Dead Stock, Rock the Arts, and then the Final Fridays. So kind of more recent programs that they tried to do to incorporate art in the community. And then we have the Redstone Room, a magazine, the Quad Cities magazine. So this is from 2006. They are talking about Bucktown Center for the Arts. And then example of the gallery hop stop. So that's something that you would put into your window to alert people and let them know that you were a stop on the gallery hop. Then we have, just really quickly, you guys, an overview of the Archive and Manuscript Catalog. So Archive Space is our Archive and Manuscript Catalog. So this is where you can find information about manuscripts and archives in our collection. So these help us manage and protect the archives with intellectual and physical control. So documenting how and what is organized in a specific collection, so that we can find it for our researchers. We do will help you search for this, but it's a pretty easy keyword search. So if you just try different types of phrases, you should be able to find what you're looking for if we have it. And then how do you access it? So there are direct links under genealogy and history tab on our website. So and then there's also an option in the sidebar content on the page as well. So our website is davenportlibrary.com. You can also find it under resources. A link will be available in the Archive and Manuscript Collection section. And then also you can just go directly to it by typing in archives.davenportlibrary.com. And then I just wanted to show you guys that this is a collection that we have in Archive Space, or the Archives and Manuscript Collection, or catalog. And so this, you can see that we did a description of all the content based on how they organized it by boxes. And so if you're interested in this collection, it's only 5 boxes, 2 record center cartons, 1 half-size record center carton, and then 1 5-inch archives box, and then 1 oversized flat box. But if you're interested in looking at this collection, just contact us and we can help you view it. But thank you so much for your time, and we hope that you enjoyed the presentation. Please let us know if you have any questions, and we hope to see you next month.